David, Brandon, welcome. Two things that go great together: peanut butter and chocolate. Snacks?
Oh, good. Thanks.
Okay. And Lutron and Ketra. So, Brandon, you're with Bravis.
Yes, sir.
What is Bravis? What do y'all do? How do I know you? Why are you here?
Good point. Brabus, basically, we came together nationwide, a lot of different independent companies that were really great at what they did independently. We actually did just a merger and brought all of them together and then kind of rebranded as Brabus. So essentially, yeah, what we do is full home design in terms of lighting systems, motorized shades, audiovisual, of course, custom theater seating, security, surveillance, kind of anything electronically that goes on inside the home or makes the home fun is typically what I tell people.
Okay, yeah. We like fun.
So, absolutely.
Okay. And then Lutron is one of the products y'all...
Yes, sir.
You know, we love Lutron.
We do too. Yeah,
we spend a lot of time and energy and resources on it.
Absolutely.
And one of Lutron's elements is Ketra.
Yes, sir.
So Ketra is... What is Ketra?
Well, Mr. David here is actually one of our local Ketra reps, so he might want to take this one.
David, what is Ketra?
So Ketra is the future in LED intelligent lighting. It's the best lighting you can put in a home or a commercial space to accent the materials, the artwork, the overall experience and environment in that space.
But so, I mean, you can get LED lighting at Home Depot and Best Buy and Amazon. So what's the difference? What does Ketra do that's different from these?
So I'm the sales engineer with Bell & McCoy. We're the manufacturer rep for Lutron and Ketra. So on the specs side, the specs that Ketra has are far greater than what else is available on the market. Now, again, specs are important, but what really is important is the experience people get under Ketra lighting. And what that does is vibrancy in your artwork, brings out details in the materials of furniture, rugs, the overall environment of the room. There's also mood. So some people, if it's too low lit, that can put them in a sad mood. With the correct lighting, you can be energized, happy, things like that. So a lot of lights that are out there on the market will only let you choose one or two colors, or it's static. Once it has that color, you're stuck with it. Ketra is smart, intelligent lighting, so it'll change throughout the day, which will make that space usable all day and match the outside lighting, which is what they call natural show.
So that's why I'm so moody, is I don't have the right light?
It could be, correctly.
Brandon knows. Okay, so there's circadian rhythm. I mean, that's what we know about circadian rhythm, is matching your lighting to the sunlight outside, or the sunlight. I mean, so is that what you're doing with this? Or
so Ketra refer to it as human-centric lighting.
Okay.
And again, it's having that influence on that space to match outside. So what they do is the time of day, there's going to be a different color temperature of that light. So a good example of this is like if you get up in the middle of the night and you go try to get a snack and you turn on those lights in the kitchen and they're at a really bright blue light, like a grocery store, that's going to wake you up. You don't want that. You want sort of what they call a firelight or a candle light at night. The reverse of that is if it's in the middle of the day and you go turn on your lights and it's got that yellow glow, it looks dingy and sad. So you want a bright light during the day, and then you want a warmer light in the evening.
So we're not talking about the intensity of the light, or they talk about lumens, the brightness of the light. We're talking about the color.
That's
correct.
correct.
Color is different. So, but you can get, I mean, we've seen them, we've all played with them. You can go get the RGB little kits and the little dial thing that you can get on a little remote that dials and changes your lights.
Yes.
So is that what you're doing with this? Or is that, or?
So with LEDs, there's which is what's making up the light source. There's a way different variety of quality of light. And so there's a color rendering index, which is called a CRI.
Right.
That's how they gauge the quality of that light. So Ketra is 90 plus, which is amazing. 90 is considered great color rendering index. What that's based off on is if you was to take a red apple and put it on the sun outside, how your eyes perceive that red.
Yes.
Ketra is 90% of that.
Okay.
So it's 90 plus. So a lot of other LEDs are sub 90. So when you break that sub 90, your quality of light is really rough. So your eyes pick up on it really quickly. Like, hey, this doesn't look so good. Or you ever been in some place, you're like, man, these lights hurt my eyes. It's because that quality of LED is not there.
So, but you say but the light, it changes over the time of the day.
Yes, that's correct.
So what makes it, I mean, do you have to go turn the dial? How do you make it change? How does it change?
So based on your geographical location, you plug that into the system, and then what it does is based on the sun exposure for that area and that time of day, it'll actually automatically adjust that brightness of the light and the color temperature. So again, in the morning, it's going to be that warmer, and we've got some videos to show that too, to see what that looks like.
See what, so you're, all right, so there's a outdoor light, and the lamp's changing.
So you got that yellow glow now,
Right.
which is great when you're going to bed.
As an owner, or you don't have to do you have to press the buttons, or like there on the keypad, or does it do it automatically, or?
There's a couple different ways. So there's control and there's automation. Control is where you go and you press a button. Automation is where you set it up to do it automatically. So Ketra is flexible with Lutron control on how you want to do that. If someone just never wants to touch a button, you could set it up to all be automated.
So, well, Brandon, so a lot of the houses we do with Bravas and with Lutron, we put in, I call them macro commands. And they're tied to in our case they've been tied to times or events, like when daylight comes up and your when the sun goes down, your Christmas lights come on automatically. When daylight comes on, the Christmas lights go off. Landscape lights, the security lights, all that. Is that what y'all are doing are y'all controlling the Ketra to make it do this, or how does that work?
Yeah, a lot of times, like I said, there's either a way within the Lutron section of the lighting system itself to directly control it. So we can set up a keypad with a button that says entertain, or a party, or bedtime, or however you want to manually do it. Like I said, if you want to take that outside of the automation world, or even just preset something that you like to use a lot. So a lot of our homeowners typically entertain. They have football parties or just dinner parties, things like that. And they do that typically every week. So that becomes something very easy where if that is important to them, we can just have a button that does that for them automatically. That way it saves all of that lighting within the exact space that they're in.
So with the, I know in some of the systems we have, it'll actually remember, like when I wake up, my phone is already on the app that I'm normally going to use, and it'll already be on the screen that I want to use when I wake up in the morning, which is kind of, first time I have it, kind of freaky. So the same thing, but you're saying with Ketra, we can do the same thing, or Lutron, you can have control Ketra the same way. So we know that when you wake up, you're going to want daylight, I guess, and when you go to bed, you want warm light.
Absolutely.
Okay. And what Lutron sells, we can get dimmers, Lutron dimmers at home. You can get them anywhere.
Oh yeah,
but
they're
so
everywhere.
are those the dimmers that do this, or do you need something else to do this?
It's a little bit of both. Okay. So obviously the lighting control system is traditionally a Lutron. Most of the time we usually spec HomeWorks, mainly because the keypad styles are what most designers like, because they're a lot lower profile. As you saw in the video, the words are backlit after they're engraved, so they look gorgeous when they're lit up. So it's very easy for the clients to see that even in a dark setting. So if they're fumbling around at night or they need to get up to go to the bathroom, they can see the words. They don't have to fumble and find the switch or hit the wrong one and wake up their partner in bed, right? So that sort of control and turning on and off or being able to dim the lights is definitely more of the Lutron side of things.
Or hit the home off button when you make it turn.
Correct. We love that one a lot too. So when people are going off to work for the day or they're going to bed at night, having a goodbye or a good night button is almost always in one of our systems, just because of the convenience factor.
So you can't just, the dimmers you get at Home Depot or wherever, you can't, that won't do Ketra.
That is correct.
Okay, you got to have the HomeWorks, and HomeWorks is the panelized system.
That is correct.
Okay.
Traditionally, obviously, most of the time, a can light is usually run to a switch local in the room,
right,
called a switch leg, and then it's run back to the main panel. This actual way we do it is actually running all of the fixtures straight back to the panel, so it actually saves a lot of time on electrical work, Romex runs, things of that nature. So it is wired just a little differently, but it also makes it a lot easier to service later on down the road, and a lot cheaper a lot of times for the clients to install. Even though the systems themselves can be somewhat expensive at the first jump, if they look at it on the saving side of things, it sorts of balances out.
One of the things that they have vacation mode, which I love with my Lutron, because you can just hit up one button and it does something. But I don't know what it does. But they tell me when I go on vacation, I'm supposed to hit the button.
Sure.
So what does it do?
So vacation mode is really creative because typically when people travel, they're usually not wanting to check in on their home. They're wanting to enjoy the time with their kids or their family, go to Disney World, ride the rides, do all that thing. Vacation mode essentially will turn on lights at random inside the home. So it makes it look and appear that you're still there. So it kind of deters anybody that's kind of scoping out the house or driving by potentially, to break in, to obviously say, hey, somebody's still home. So it kind of adds that extra layer of security.
You can also program the shades to automatically move
That is
up
correct.
and down as well. And one other thing, just to back up a little bit, on centralized lighting, Lutron also with HomeWorks does a dual radio processor. So now for like a house that doesn't have central lighting, or it's a retrofit, you can also do Ketra in a retrofit home.
Very good point.
And that makes it a whole lot more flexible on how you can get Ketra into one of these homes, especially if they've already built their dream home. They don't want to have to go do a bunch of sheetrock work or anything like that. You can actually do and I have some, a screw-in Ketra bulb that can go into a can, go into track lighting. This is a snoot that'll actually help focus it. But Ketra's even in screw-in bulbs, which is a good retrofit solution, and still gives you all of that power of the Ketra without having to do a whole centralized lighting.
So is it a wireless?
Yes, that's
interface.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So even if you have an existing home, if you wanted to do a whole house renovation and put Ketra in there, and you don't have a HomeWorks installed because you don't want to. Obviously, you can't rewire the house. I guess you could, but you don't want to rewire the house.
Correct.
Then you can just do the interface.
Okay. Yes.
Yep.
Also, what's really nice about these is some of these homes have really big rooms.
Right.
And they move them around. If they're having a party, it might be a setting area one time, then it's an open room. With Ketra and Lutron, you can go in there and rezone those pretty quickly. So that button they're pressing on the wall, it could turn on all the downlights, or they can change it next week to do just as a sitting area and a breakfast area. So you can rezone it without having to rerun wiring. So a lot of your builders like Ketra because it saves them to have to run multiple legs back to the breaker box.
So they're all addressable.
They're all addressable.
And you can change colors on those, can't you?
You can.
So if I was watching a Longhorn game, Bill Horns, you can change it burnt orange.
That's true.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
That's true.
It definitely does the tunable whites, and also, like you said, the color changing aspect. But the other nice thing that you kind of indirectly brought up was independently controlling. What others really cool about the Ketra is that you can independently control each fixture without turning on the entire group of lights.
Okay.
So for a lot of times, people during the day, if they have, say, 8 cans in their main living space, obviously all 8 cans are on during the day.
Right.
But maybe at night, they don't want all 8 cans because it's just too bright.
Yeah.
Even at a dimmer level, they still just want it a little bit more subtle. Being able to turn on each can independently or turn them off is also a really good advantage.
And you can do a macro command on that. You don't have to sit there and
absolutely.
Every time you go in the room, you don't have to fine tune and pick which one you can pick.
Correct. Yeah, it's not like whack-a-mole where you're kind of touching each one independently. So yes, absolutely.
The other neat thing about Ketra being paired with Lutron is the automation aspect. And people don't want to go around and touch buttons. If they got a 6,000 square foot house and they have to go and touch all these buttons, that's a lot. It's work.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's automation that's tied in for even time of day. So just like he was talking about, if someone's walking into the living room during the day, they can have a motion sensor. It turns on the Ketra lights and they match outside. Well, then if it's at night, what they can do, they can walk in the room. The motion sensor detects it. It's during that nighttime. Ketra knows, well, don't come on at 100%. We're going to come on at 0.01%, which is also an incredible spec. Most LEDs will not. They'll go down to 1%.
Yeah. If you're lucky, a lot of them are 10%.
Yeah,
exactly.
So the reason they do that is because LEDs flicker if they can't dim down low.
Right.
So Ketra's flex is, well, we don't just go down to 1, we go down to 0.01 with no flicker. So you can actually set your automation to control your light, and they don't ever have to touch a button. So a lot of times when they got that big house, that is a big key feature.
So I remember Bill Gates built his monster house 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And everyone was raving about how he'd walk through his house.
And then,
I think it's RFID was back then or whatever. And the rooms would respond to a person enter the room.
Change the artwork on the walls
Yeah,
to
all that
either
stuff.
him or his wife. Yeah, absolutely.
And we were all going, wow, that's so cool. And basically what I'm hearing is now you don't have to be Bill Gates to do that.
exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yeah. As long as Bravo's supposed to say.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So going back to the vacation mode though, and I think I know the answer to this, but I'll ask it because that's what an intelligent interviewer does.
Good job.
The vacation mode would also control the Ketra the same way though. If the lights would come on, it wouldn't just be random. It would come on. You're not going to get bright light. You're not going to get the daylight at night and the nightlight at day. It'll just mimic what you like in your home.
Correct.
Yeah, HomeWorks is very powerful. You can, if you wanted it just the flash red, you could have it do that. So there's a lot of cool things you can do with the programming on vacation mode.
So when we on our alarm systems, we used to do this on some houses. We would we'd set it up where when the alarm goes off, all the outside lights would come on.
Yes, sir.
You can totally do that.
You
Yep.
could do that with, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, the horror movie scene where obviously you hear noise downstairs and the wife is poking at the husband.
Yeah.
Who's obviously just as scared to death as she is.
Yeah.
And saying, honey, go check that noise downstairs. And obviously he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But also, yes, we've done that in the past where if the security system were to trigger, it could also do the outside lights, but even the interior lights too. So obviously that would scare the crap out of any burglar.
Yes.
If they're hanging out in your kitchen, that all the lights came on, he'd quickly probably jump out of there. So
That'd be fun. Yeah. Or if your kid's trying to sneak out.
Yeah.
yes.
My kids are past that age now. So no, what the Ketra has? I was looking at the details in Ketra has something called color lock. What is
Yes.
color lock?
Great question. So LEDs, again, we talked about there's variance in quality of LEDs. Everybody's seen poor quality LEDs at the airport. You walk in, there's one that's amber, one that's white, another one that's got a blue tint, and there might be one that's flickering. So what happens is as that LED deteriorates over time and use, they can break down and change color. So what Ketra does is they have a color lock. Since they're all individually addressed, they all communicate to each other. So if one is dropping down in color, it will make all the lights in that space the same color. So you don't have that popcorn look or different colored lights that you don't want to have different colored lights. So the other cool spec with that is everybody asks, how long does Ketra lights?
Yes.
So their spec is 50,000 hours. So what does that mean? That's approximately 17 years. So it's a pretty good specification.
And it's a real 50,000 hours because
Yes.
some of these lights have these hours on them, and that like a month later,
Yeah.
you're going out. So
Yeah, exactly. And everybody's had that LED situation where they put in LEDs in their whole house, and then 6 months later you got one out, or you got one that's got a funky color, and you're just like, or you got the one that just keeps flickering in the corner.
Right.
And sometimes these houses have really high ceilings. They have to have scaffolding or some crazy contraption to get that. So that's where Ketra, you have the confidence. You put a Ketra lighting solution in, you're good for 50,000 hours.
I went to a Ketra demonstration a few years back, and they had a piece of art on the wall. I don't know if we have something we can a video of this, and you look at the art. I'm not an art guy, but you looked at the art, and all of a sudden the light started changing, and the art piece was there, but it didn't move, but it changed.
Yeah.
And I was curious what did that.
That's called vibrancy. You just saw it jump
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's called vibrancy.
How does that happen?
So with LEDs, there's companies that do the white light well, and then there's companies that do the color LEDs well. Getting a company to do both well is the struggle. So since Ketra, in order to make a really good white LED, you have to have blends of color.
Yes.
They take that and it's basically high def color.
Okay.
They're making that art piece or rug or furniture pop by injecting the color into the white light. So it's that vibrancy makes it pop.
So you could change the whole theme of a room if you had art up. I like animation art. Go figure. But you can change it. Yeah. Who would have known?
Yeah.
You could by changing your light, you could change your art without ever actually
A
changing
lot
the
of
art.
times, yes, sir. And that's definitely an important question that we always ask our clients, even during the design phase of building their home, is are there any collections that you have? You know, obviously whether it be artwork or sports memorabilia or
Yeah.
you know, silver spoons from the Victorian era, or you know, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And obviously when they spend that type of money on artwork, it's very much a presentation piece for, you know, visitors to come in and they
Right.
want to show it off.
Yeah.
And it's obviously very important that it looks good too.
Yeah.
Because typically when they buy that type of art, it's usually in a gallery setting. So they have lights specifically aimed at the artwork that highlights its features, highlights brushstrokes or colors. But being able to highlight that with even a Ketra lamp is also great too, because it will change the actual colors on the painting themselves. So the reds might become more amber or more orangish or, you know, bluish, and you know the colors will actually, you know, change depending on what type of temperature of light is on the piece.
Yeah, those galleries, it always looks great in the galleries. When you
Well,
take
of
it
course.
home.
That's one thing to give some credibility to that. This is just
Yeah.
a short list of some of the galleries that have Ketra. Like
Yeah.
this is so we've got Dustin Yelling Studio. That's in New York.
Yep.
They got the Art Institute of Chicago.
Yep.
Big deal. The Oceanside Museum in California. The Nelson Atkins Museum of Art. I believe that's in Kansas.
Kansas City.
Yeah. So those are just some of the venues that have trusted Ketra to display their artwork. And when you go to a museum or an artwork, it's a wow experience.
Yeah.
They have to have that light right on.
Right.
Because light affects your mood a lot.
Well, so let's bring us back to home, because I mean the whole thing about what we do here, besides eat candy and drink sugary drinks, is we're trying to show folks how they can take the insider knowledge in the luxury homes and how they can take elements they weren't aware of and put it in their home to make their home really cool. So how would Ketra? I mean, obviously it changed with the light, changed with the tracks of sun, and changed with the light during the day. How would you incorporate that? I mean, what would you have to do to incorporate that into your home? That's a long way of saying how do you use it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and I think, you know, obviously there's different levels of the Ketra fixtures themselves. Obviously, David already showed, you know, the simple S30 lamp that basically just screws into any, you know, 6-inch can fixture, or, you know, things like that.
So, so if you had existing cans, you wouldn't have to rip it out. You take it out and pop it in there, like buying a bowl, but
Correct.
okay.
It's definitely, yeah, same kind of thing about going to Home Depot or Amazon or wherever and buying that bulb, but obviously, you know, just buying the Ketra version instead. And it's just as simple as changing in any ordinary light bulb. Obviously, there's programming and stuff involved to achieve, you know, the things that you're looking for on that investment. But that's definitely one of them.
So you can't just go. I mean, I guess you can buy a bulb. You just can't just stick the bulb in and just be done with it. You're gonna have
Correct.
you have to have some sort of processor or some sort of
Correct.
command center.
That's typically why you don't see Ketra in the Home Depot aisles, is because it's not really a DIY product. There are definitely certain things, obviously, in our market that are not DIYers, right? And that's okay. And the reason being is that those companies have a certain level of expectation of this is how it's supposed to interact in the home. And obviously, we need somebody who's actually certified, that knows what they're doing, being able to set it up properly, you know, configure the network properly to make sure it works stably.
You know anybody?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
His name is Steve Smith. Hi, Steve.
Now, Ketra, I mean, Ketra's going to cost a few nickels more than what you get at Home Depot, the bulbs. I mean, so, and obviously the program and all that. Is it possible for someone who wants to, can you just do a few rooms, or do you have to do the whole house, or can you just pick and
Absolutely.
choose?
No, absolutely. We run into that all the time. You know, obviously there's different levels of their fixtures, even in a new construction phase. Obviously the housings themselves are usually put in at a rough in phase. So that's when the electrician's actually running all the wires, things of that nature. The other kind of cool aspect of that is that a lot of times the homeowners, when we're placing those can lights, either whether it be a design that we've done internally with Bravas, or, you know, the electrician just kind of scratching one out on a napkin. You know, when they place those cans, they're not really sure where the furniture is going to be yet. It's still too new. It's just too far down the road. They haven't thought about that process just then. So the other nice thing about Ketra is that you can actually adjust the beam angle spread of each fixture without having to change out the entire housing. And that's another really big selling point, because being able to change from a wide beam spread to more of a narrow, or even to a art wash, change out on the fixture, is really a great advantage, because that kind of lets them know, hey, breathe easily. we can make those decisions a little bit later on down the road. So if you said, oh, I didn't think I was going to have a piece of art there, I thought it was going to be a piece of furniture, not a big deal, because we can actually change those fixtures out internally without having to rip out the entire ceiling, like you said.
We're talking about, let's talk about media spaces. So your TV, pardon me, your TV in your TV room. You know, obviously we were getting away from projectors. We're doing the big wall screen deals. How does this work with TVs? If you're watching TV, obviously you have an LED TV right there, broadcasting out signals to you. What happens when you have an LED light that's trying to be a smart light up there?
So Lutron, when they paired with Ketra, one of the good marriages about that is they use a very specific, it's called Clear Connect Type X technology that's patented by Lutron.
Right.
They specifically bought that frequency, so nobody else plays on that.
Oh.
So it is like basically, everybody hates traffic, especially in Dallas or Houston or Austin.
Right.
It's like getting a free lane that's just for you to get through town.
Oh.
So there's no interference with any of that. So that to answer the question on the interference. The other nice thing is, like he said, they have entertain. They program an entertain button. When you're watching that TV, you can say entertain. It'll turn off that first row of downlights, so you don't get any of that, splash or glare on your TV as well.
So not like the artwork. You can change when the color changes the vibrancy of the artwork. It's not going to change the TV and make it's not going to turn the alpha into a green alien. It's not still be a brown alien or whatever.
We don't have the technology to make Donald Trump not appear orange. We're working on that one.
Can't color wash that out.
Yeah, we can't do that yet.
Good deal. All right, super. All right, well, thank you guys. Is there anything else about Ketra or Lutron? We've lived on Lutron for years. We've been using Lutron for 25 years. We're a big fan of it. Ketra we've been using for a few years now. We're excited about it. I guess Lutron bought Ketra when? When did Lutron?
2018.
Okay, so a few years now.
And Ketra's been around since 2009.
Yeah, and you guys and Ketra pretty much invented this whole. I say invented. They invented or they formulated this type of LED lighting that you can't find. Nobody else has this that I'm aware of.
Right. Not at this level. So the specs are important. I always tell them, like, I'm a sales engineer.
Right.
I'm a nerd. I like the specs. The specs are important. They're impressive. But what's really impressive, if you're really serious about doing intelligent lighting in a space, you really need to go to like Austin or one of the Ketra experience centers and go see it in real life. It is a very awesome experience.
So, your integrator rep can usually get you there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially when when people are looking at doing a whole home, and like you said, obviously we may do the higher end fixtures in the bigger areas, right? So the main kitchen, great room, living spaces, but then also maybe just do the standard lamps, say like in the the guest rooms or things of that nature. So yes, absolutely. We've definitely before they go down that road of writing a big check for, hey, let's do everything that we want. It's great to go to those experience centers and actually see it in action. Obviously, we have certain showrooms here in Dallas, but it's too small to really grasp the entire concept of Ketra. So the local one that we have here is in Austin, which is great because it's a pretty short little drive. But again, it makes people feel a little bit better because they can really see the experience and then understand it. It's kind of one of those things that as soon as you see it, you get it.
Yeah. And then you'd have to have appointments. You can't just drive them to Austin and bang on the door because they have commitments.
Correct. Yes. Yes. They would not appreciate that. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could, but it's kind of like going to our lighting showroom where we buy lights. You just can't. You can walk in there and look, but you're not going to be able to.
Absolutely.
You got to get an appointment. Super. Okay. Well, Brandon, if our folks watching need help or need to find you in Bravos, how can they find you?
Either contact through you or obviously on our website, or my direct email is brandon.trimble@bravos.com.
Beautiful. Okay. David, you're a rep, so
yeah. So they would get through me. So
okay.
yeah. So
and you're what company? I'm sorry.
We're with Bell McCoy.
Bell McCoy. Okay.
Bell McCoy. We're manufacturer rep for Lutron and Ketra.
So all the Lutron stuff is in your warehouse over there. Somewhere.
Oh no, that would be nice.
Okay. Oh yeah. You're the rep, you're the manufacturer's rep. So
that's correct.
You're our resource, our conduit back to the Lutron if we have questions, or Ketra.
That's correct.
Absolutely, yeah. David's great because again, if there's certain questions that I don't know, I mean, I've obviously been in this game a long time too, but I don't pretend I know everything. So it's great having a local rep here in town or somebody that I can quickly call if there's a question that I need answered and I just don't know the answer. So
great. All right, gentlemen, thanks. That was great. I appreciate you explaining Ketra to our
Yes, sir.
viewers, and we know Brabus is the one that can put it in for you, and we'll go play with some more gadgets.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you much. Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching Uniqueness Built In. Have you seen something interesting on our show that you would like us to elaborate on? Or perhaps you've seen something out in the wild that you want us to talk about on our show? Feel free to email us at the email on the screen, info@garabedianproperties.com.